And then you'll tweet it, and then I'll retweet it while we're on, and then we'll go.
All right, Hebsy, we're live on your red carpet, my friend.
Woo. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Red Carpet Show, June 11th, 2021. The first day of freedom and liberation in the province of Ontario. We're all going to go on a patio today.
Do you have plans?
It's going to be.
You going on a patio today?
I was already on midnight, 12:01 this morning.
Really?
Walked down the street. Sure. What do you think?
I don't know. I was asleep at 12:01.
Well, see, what's happening is the restaurants are serving still. It's all takeout, right? But the ones that had outdoor patios were all prepared. Not all of them. A couple down the street were prepared. And at midnight, there was still some sports on TV watching, and the taps were open, so to speak. And you could sit outside and have a beer, which I did, to christen in the new laws.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, pretty excited about that. Pretty darn excited. I'm excited about today's show too. I'm angry still. I was okay for a while, and then a few of the neighbors got into the Leafs, and are they going to keep Hyman? And everybody's worried. It's Chicken Little. Oh, how are we going to do next year when we're in tough against Boston and Tampa? We had our big chance this year. We're going to lose Hyman. So I have to calm these people down, which I've been doing the last few days, and I'm just getting angry at the same time at the attitude of a lot of Maple Leaf fans.
I just tweeted.
There's no hope for them.
I just tweeted the link at you.
Oh, thanks. What's going on in your life?
Oh, we had a good Pandemic Friday last night, which was a late
When
edition.
will those end?
August 27.
That's it for Pandemic
So
Friday.
11 more to go. And
Right.
we're thinking the last one, we're going to try to do it somewhere in a public space. So Pandemic Friday fans can come out and, watch us do the finale.
Right.
So we'll see if the dome is available like they did with the Cheers finale. You remember that?
Yeah, that was awesome. Actually, what was even better? Years earlier was the Dallas finale. Who Shot JR?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, that was huge. That would have been in the early 80s.
Yeah,
I remember there's only three networks at the time.
Right.
CBS, NBC, ABC. There's no Fox. There's none of that. UHF channels, you couldn't get them anywhere outside the local area. No cable.
Right.
So anyone that was on CBS, NBC, or ABC, especially in prime time, were huge stars. And so I don't know what the numbers were for the Dallas Who Shot JR finale. And I don't even remember, was it season 1, 2? It doesn't matter. But that alone, and the MASH finale, and the Friends finale, and the Seinfeld finale.
Right. But can I ask because I was a bit young for the Dallas stuff, but wasn't it the season finale, the, Who Shot JR? And then wasn't it the first episode of the next season that was going to answer the question?
It was going to reveal it, yeah.
Okay. Because that's The Simpsons.
So they ended the season with JR getting shot.
Because I'm more familiar with Who Shot Mr. Burns. There's a 2-part Simpsons Who Shot Mr. Burns, which is a parody of the Who Shot JR. But,
right.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. Because at that time, that's all anyone was talking about. Like, even if you weren't a fan of the show and didn't watch it every Friday night, Dallas.
Right.
It was just part of the culture in those days.
Right.
Larry Hagman was a big star, but he was only known for being I Dream of Jeannie's sidekick. I mean, he really wasn't in anything else. He was that's the guy who was on I Dream of Jeannie. Right. Now here he is on this big show. It was great cast, really well written, big production, and like good versus evil. Actually, no, it was actually more evil versus evil. There weren't a lot of good people on that show.
Who did shoot JR? Do you remember? Who was it?
Yeah, it was his sister-in-law. What's her name? Crosby. Catherine Crosby, is that it? I think it was his sister-in-law. I can't remember now. It's so many years ago. So here's the lineup today for those of you joining us on the red carpet. This is the non-podcast part of the show.
Right.
This is the one where if I say something, Mike goes, "Ooh, save that for the podcast."
Right. Don't say anything interesting in this section.
We're going to talk about Vegas and Montreal. We're going to talk about people from Toronto and why we feel it's necessary to root for Montreal and or any Canadian team that's left in any, sporting event.
I'm looking forward to that. I got things to say about that.
All right. We're going to talk about Italians and how maybe they worry more than, I think they might worry more than Jews. Honest to God. The Jews worry the most. Oh, my God. I don't know if you've ever seen the show Mrs. Maisel, the magnificent
Yeah,
Mrs. Maisel.
I've seen it. Yes.
Okay, so in that, there's some great stereotypical Jews in that show. That it just the worrying mother-in-law. Oh my God, I'm afraid if I eat something, if I'm chewing my food, the phone will ring and I won't be able to answer your phone call. Like that, Jewish guilt and worry. And oh my God, I worry so much. Well, the Italians in my neighborhood are worried about like more than one thing. They're worried about whether Italy's going to win in Euro 2020 soccer, of which the first game is today. It's this afternoon.
Wow.
Everybody in the neighborhood's just walking on eggshells.
Wow.
And the other ones are the Italians who are Toronto Maple Leafs fans, of which almost all of them are. What are we going to do? We got, hey, Mark, come over here, Mark. Tell me what's going on. What about Marner? What's with Marner? Is he Italian? And, what are we going to do with Hyman?
Martino.
I know you're Jewish, and I know Hyman's Jewish. Can you talk to him maybe? Maybe he takes a discount, I'm going, hey, wait a second.
Yeah,
is that a Jewish thing? What are you saying? Jews are cheap? What are you saying? No, Mark, I couldn't care less if he's Croatian. Jew, it doesn't matter. I want him to stay for the Leafs, but I don't think they're going to pay him $5 million a year. So I want to pay him $5 million a year. So I got to be psychologist, everything else. And plus I'm the sports expert here. So all the Italian guys, and Mark, you think Italy's going to chance this year? What do you think? Turkey, they got a good team? Where is Turkey anyway? Is that in Europe? It's hysterical.
It's a good dinner.
It's hysterical. It's a good dinner, right? So we'll talk about that, sports media stuff. There's lots of the numbers came in on radio. Our numbers here on this show are better than almost every show
right now
that's on the radio station.
This episode will beat Landsberg and Koliakovo and MacArthur and Zigomanis.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's exciting.
It won't beat Overdrive.
No? We'll get there. We'll get there one day.
It won't beat Overdrive. And funny enough, a lot of people that listen to Overdrive stream it. They don't listen to it live.
Because, the younger
listen to the podcast.
Right. Hey, because...
if you're streaming it, you're live streaming it. There's another way of streaming it, obviously, right?
I thought you meant the podcast.
Right. So you listen to the podcast, or they won't turn on their radio like you or me in the car or whatever. They'll stream it.
Right. Hey, let me say good morning to the people before, because I think we have just 2 minutes here to go. But just let me say hi to so Mike Kerr, always first. This guy's quick. Man. Good morning, Mike. Let us know where you're from. Morning to you. Moose Grumpy says good morning, everyone. Gary Faber.
What time that you subscribed?
Oh yeah, we saw that, Moose. Come on, Moose.
How many shows do we have to do before you say maybe I should subscribe to this guy? He's pretty good.
Right, Moose. Let us know if you bought the lawnmower 4.0 for your husband there. Okay, so
yeah, that's right.
Gary Faber says go Habs and says good morning. We'll address that later.
Gary, get out of here.
Brian Gerstein says morning. Good morning. He also says the Yiddish expression. Yes, he is a Montreal guy. The Yiddish expression is kvetching. Am I saying it right? Kvetching. Okay. Right. Paul Hawker.
You know what that means?
Tell me. I think I know it.
Just like bitching.
Okay. Kvetching. Okay.
The word bitching came from kvetching. Oh. Just got one of those words. Kvetching. You're kvetching. It's got a hard sound to it.
Daniel Finkler, good morning. Paul Hawkyard, I know Paul. Yeah. Let me see. We have Gordon Enright who's here. He says the Islanders in Vegas have more Canadians than the Canadians. Phil Parkinson says happy Euro 2020. Feel like we're in a time machine here. Wayne Brown says good morning from Lethbridge.
Nice.
And Moose Grumpy apologizes that she did not realize she was not subscribed. And Steve Green just says good morning. So there's a good crowd already, and a lot of people. As you know, most people won't comment. I learned this from my Pandemic Fridays. Most people lurk and they don't comment. It's the engagement's like the 5%.
Wait a minute. Did you just say our listeners lurk?
Yeah, there's some lurking going on.
Lurking is. I don't like that word. It's like stalking.
Yeah, but lurking and stalking are not the same thing. Stalking
no, they're not. But
just
the
word
again, lurking. He's lurking. It's not a really upbringing kind of word. It's lurking. They're lurking. They're waiting.
You know what? You're thinking of lurch,
and then they're going to pounce.
That's right. Okay. Well, they can pounce if they want. Okay. The time is now.
So sports
9:20.
Media numbers. We're going to talk NBA playoffs, Crosswinds golf, of course, the French Open, which features two women I've never heard of before in the final. Like as soon as Osaka withdrew, it was like, okay, well, and Bianca's out. And Serena's what, 42 years old?
Almost my age. Holy smokes.
And I want to talk about the best commercial on television right now that we see during all these games. Because between the Jays and the hockey, I've been watching a lot of sports television, and you end up seeing the same commercials. Okay. And they can't help but get annoying, but there's one that's really good.
Mike Kerr, by the way, is from Scarborough. And he used to stay up late to watch Sportsline, but now he's living in Pickering. So he's a Pickering.
Wait a sec. He used to stay up late to watch Sportsline, but now he's living in Pickering.
Like when he was living in Scarborough, I guess, when Sportsline.
That's a disjointed sentence. You should have said he's from Scarborough, but he's now living in Pickering. Mind you, when he was living in Scarborough as a kid, he used to stay up late to watch Sportsline.
Well, I figured you'd catch on. You're pretty sharp.
Okay, let's go. I'm ready to go with this.
All right, and Dale Cadeau says, get your ass to a patio and support all these.
Already did.
I know. I'm just letting the listenership know. Okay, you ready now? I'm going to count you down, my friend. Here we go.
Okay.
All right, recording in 5, 4, 3.
The following podcast is brought to you by Crosswinds Golf and Country Club in beautiful Burlington. I can't wait to play the course tomorrow, and I'll be looking for revenge on that nasty 12th hole where I put one in the water last week. Oh, it was a beautiful Titleist. Oh, bro. Anyway, I made double bogey, wasn't happy about it at all, and I'm seeking revenge. Crosswinds, by the way, is situated between Rattlesnake Point and Mount Nemo, overlooking the Niagara Escarpment. The views are breathtaking. The course is in outstanding condition, as usual, and the people are super friendly and helpful. Their commitment to excellence is second to none. And you know what? You can even sit on the patio now and watch the golfers while you're sipping a beverage. Such a deal. Go to crosswindsgolf.com, book your tee time right there, right now, and get out and enjoy the beauty and splendor of this wonderful golf facility. Hope to see you there at Crosswinds, and make sure you tell them that Hebsy sent you. Now, Mike, let's start the podcast. Live from Toronto, it's Hebsy on Sports, episode number 236. Hi there, sports fans. Welcome to the show. Mark Hebsher along with Toronto Mike, looking forward to some good old-fashioned sports talk with no bullshit and lots of ass kicking. Woo! Ontario has partially opened up, which means we can have 6 people in a store at one time now and 4 people sitting on a patio together if they're not from the same household. Meanwhile, in Las Vegas, 18,000 screaming lunatic strangers without masks urged on the Golden Knights to a series victory over the Colorado Avalanche. What's wrong with this picture? Next up, the upstart Montreal Canadiens, who will have, 3,000 fans for their game, and maybe they'll allow 5,000 fans when the games are in Montreal, when Vegas has to cross the border into Canada, not have to quarantine for 14 days. Roll up your sleeves, show us your arms. If you got your passport, are you vaccinated? Come on, we'll let you in. All right. Tampa and the Islanders are playing in the other semifinal. Is that going to be a sweep for Tampa, or is these upstart Islanders going to exact revenge on Tampa for what happened last year? Which wasn't last year. It wasn't that long ago that the Stanley Cup finals were, fought for, I guess. It's just so odd that part of the league is fully up to snuff. It's like there was never a pandemic. And the other part of the league is, there's hockey going on. Why? Maybe they'll let a few of us in. All right, the Bluejays need to shore up their defense if they want to play with the big boys. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. Made a miscue in the first inning that led to 3 runs that should have been unearned as the Jays lost to the White Sox, but an official scorer said, let's give them a double. That's not an error. It's a double. I hate official scores. Not really. Only when they make a mistake, according to me. When is George Springer coming back so we can send Gurriel to the bench, by the way? Mm-hmm. And what are the chances that the Jays will be playing in Toronto this year? 50%? 25%? 0%? Probably the same chances that the city of Toronto would put up the Montreal Canadiens colors up on the CN Tower. What? They did? Assholes.
To be discussed.
We've got the NBA playoffs. We got the French Open. We got golf. We got Euro 2020. We got sports media news. We got more. But first, let's officially say hi to Toronto Mike, who will be celebrating his 1,000th podcast sometime next summer.
Yes,
I'm thinking August of 2022, Mike, the way at your current pace. Vladdy Guerrero's on pace to hit 50 home runs by the end of the season, by game 162. You're on pace to have 1,000 podcasts by August of 2022. Now, that's an incredible milestone. And you'll be the first to reach that in podcasting history.
I don't know if that's true, but I will say
in Canada.
Well, I don't even know. I don't know. I have to do a little homework before
I
make that
You would
claim.
have the number. Who else would have more than you? Hummel and Fred?
Oh yeah, they would because they've been doing it Dale, they've done. I bet you Humble and Fred have well more than 1,000 in the. They don't count them like I do. I know.
I haven't heard. Hey, join us for the 2,000th episode of.
They should have numbered their episodes like I did, and even you. I know this is 236 because we number the episodes. I'm a fan. I like to number episodes. I like to.
So you're at 865.
Yeah, yesterday night.
Plus 236 with me because you're co-hosting the show.
Right.
You're well over 1,000.
Woo! I should get like a plaque or something.
Anyway, we'll get into that some other time because this is my.
Hey, Hebsy, I got to ask you a question because the big talk these days, there's some Delta variant, and apparently if you got the single shot, you're not that protected. So now suddenly we're all like, whoa, like let's slow our roll and get fully vaccinated. My question to you, my friend, I know you got the one shot. When will you get your second vaccination shot?
I think I might do a live show. It's Tuesday morning at, where am I here? Oh, no, Tuesday afternoon at 2:40 at Toronto Western Hospital. Pod B. Okay? That's the University Health Network. So 3rd floor, 440 Bathurst Street. So come on and join me. Come on. We'll have a little party here. I'm going to get my second Pfizer shot, and then I'm good. Yeah, and then I'll be able to come over to your place, and nobody will have to worry about themselves or me because I'll be fully vaccinated.
Now you need 14 days after that shot before the party. Okay, just because you got to have that party 14 days after the shot. But absolutely, I can't wait to have you.
That date circled.
When do you think you can be in the backyard for a live episode of Hebsy on Sports? We can make a lot of noise and get.
Tell me when you want to do it. Want to do it next Friday?
I'll do it next Friday. Yeah. Okay,
we'll talk about it off the air. But yeah, I'm ready for that. I got my bike riding. I'm doing about 20, 25 kilometers a day.
Easy.
Should be no problem.
Awesome. Amazing.
Okay, good.
Oh, how's Otis doing? I know Gene Velitis in BC always wants an Otis update.
Gene's not the only one. A lot of people, I listen to Mark Maron's podcast, and he's always talking about his cats. He's got a stray here, you got this one there, a kitten there, Buster here. And there are a lot of cat people out there. And cat people are cool people. So, and I think I'm pretty cool when it comes to that. But Otis, I saw for 15 seconds. I live on Clinton Street. If you know Little Italy at all. Clinton is between Bathurst and Ossington. And so the next street over just to the west is Grace Street, which is the continuation of Christie Street. Like it's called Christie Street north of Bloor. Right. And then south of Bloor, they said, no, let's call it Grace Street.
Toronto does
There's a lot of streets like that. And I don't know about in your town, but in Toronto, you're on a particular street and then it's called something else. Then it's called something else. Then it's called something else.
The one I remember the most as a young man is Annette Street would suddenly be DuPont. Like when you hit Dundas there, like suddenly it's the same street.
When you go under that, the underpass there.
Right.
But just for example, like if you're on Highway 5, someone says, I'm on Highway 5. Highway 5 is Bloor Street. It's Dundas Street. It's depends where you are. And Bloor and Dundas do intersect, even though they both go in the same direction. So you drive yourself crazy with directions. Anyway, so I'm walking along Grace Street, which is 1 block from my house, up the street. And usually Otis hangs out around there because he'll walk through the backyards and the alleyway between Clinton and Grace. Mm-hmm. It's easy. But then he'll cross over Grace Street, which is not a particularly busy street, and it's one way going south. So he knows enough to look before he goes across the street. So I see his new owners. They're coming towards me. They're walking south on Grace. I'm walking north. And it's sort of like, oh, you looking for Otis? Oh, yeah, we know where he is. And he's usually hanging around here. And we're shooting the breeze and talking about, how's it going with Otis and all that. And then we see Otis slowly walking across Grace Street, about 100 feet down the road. Okay, we got to go. And I know Otis's thing is he'll look at you, he'll meow, and then he'll take off.
Right.
And then just as you're about to get him and pick him up, he'll just take off again. You know the way cats are? But frogs are like that too. You're just about to pick it up and it hops away.
Right. It's called instinct, I think.
That's what it is. So that's and I saw Otis for about 15 seconds. That's the Otis story.
A great story, Otis story. I'll just say because we're Leaf fans, we should point out the big one for Leaf fans growing up with Maple Leaf Gardens is that college suddenly becomes Carleton.
Right. Not suddenly.
But it's that young.
That's just it. It's not suddenly.
I know, but there's a young, and then it's Carleton.
You are now entering Carleton Street on the east side.
But why are we changing the name?
Why? Exactly. Why? And the streetcar is called the Carleton Streetcar.
Right.
It's just wrong.
Yeah,
but it's like that in other cities too. What street am I on? I'm on so and so. You didn't that used to be so and so street? Yeah. Oh, yeah. They changed its name, and a lot of times they change it because some local politician or some figure deserves to get a street named after them. So let's call this like Jesse and Jean Way,
right? Young in
North York.
Yeah.
was an alleyway sort of behind the Firestone station that led to the Q107 studios.
Right.
Well, that wasn't that difficult for Mel Lastman to reclaim, to call it Jesse and Jean Way. It was nice.
Hey, on that note, so they fixed up the 6 Points Plaza area of Etobicoke.
I saw that.
Right? And now it's only 10 feet. I'd say it's 10 feet long, but there's now Jerry Howarth Way.
Yes.
So that's part, because they had a few different.
You biked by that, didn't you?
Yeah. So I saw Jerry Howarth Way and I took a selfie with it. Yeah. So.
Well, you know what street I'm always on is Wayne and Schuster.
Right.
Way.
Right.
Always. It's great.
Do you know who played whenever there was a child character on Wayne and Schuster, who they used to get to play the kid, the little kid? Stu Stone.
Really? I did not know that.
So there you go. Shout out to Stu Stone.
Okay. One other question, Mike. How are your balls?
Yeah, my balls are thanking me on a daily basis because I've been, ever since I got my lawnmower 4.0, I've been using it. How are your balls doing?
Yeah, I don't know how often to use it. Like I'm thinking, is it often as you shave your face? Do you?
No, I don't do it that often.
And your pubic area and.
Every guy's probably different. I shave my face more often than I shave my balls.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a line, by the way. I've never uttered that line on Toronto Mike.
Trying to get a visual on that one. All right, listen, Father's Day's coming up. You know the drill. I think by now that Mike and I both love our lawnmower 4.0. I use it a little more often than he does. But anyway, it's a personal choice. And this week, Mike, and hopefully you'll be getting one in the mail, the Weed Whacker.
Oh.
That's for your nose and your ears. Some people get, you get a bird's nest in there and you're looking at your friend going, buddy, between, like guys can do that
right
with other guys. They'll go like this. Hey,
and
the other, oh, really? If I got a problem there,
that's an older.
So
guy
I got the
thing.
Weed Whacker and it's pretty cool. Hopefully you'll be getting yours soon. They also have things like crop mop and ball wipes and ball toner and ball deodorant, and it's quite specific.
And the underwear is fantastic. I have Manscaped underwear, and it's really comfortable.
Very comfortable. And the T-shirts, too, are made of that fine cotton. Anyway, folks, if you go to manscaped.com and you enter the promo code Hebsy, Hebsy, on checkout, you get 20% off. And I'd really appreciate it because it's coming down to the wire. I mean, these guys could just put the chop on me. And that could be it.
Guys, if you enjoy the content here, which we offer, free of charge every week, if you want to help out the show, help out Hebsy, do that. Use the promo code Hebsy at manscaped.com. Father's Day, birthday gifts, just for being you gifts. Like, let's do it up. Take care of Hebsy.
Okay. If you've listened to the show before, I'm fully invested in the Toronto Bluejays. Have been since 1977 when my dad bought seasons tickets to the Jays and I was able to see a number of games. And then becoming a reporter, sitting in the press box, not being able to cheer for the Jays, even though they were my team. That's tough.
Right.
You're thinking of going into the media business. Let me tell you this right now. Put your loyalties aside. Because if you ever get caught cheering in the press box, maybe now, I guess, they're more tolerant. I don't know. But back in the day, you're supposed to be an objective reporter. Balanced stories. Okay? Okay, you were a Blue Jay fan once? Fine. I was like that, man. I was a Leaf fan, a Blue Jay fan, an Argo fan. And then when I became a journalist, the old guys, the Jim Hunts of this world, the Bob McCowans of this world, the Pat Marsdens of this world, the Jim Proudfoots, Milt Dunnels would say, listen, you have to be objective. You cannot show a bias. You have to be kind of like a referee. So I got my referee's jersey here in the background.
Right, I see that.
It's not a Juventus jersey, by the way. It's a referee's jersey because I've been having some problem with the officiating. Anyway, last night, the 2021 edition of the Blue Jays, supposedly one of the most exciting teams in baseball, are the most frustrating team as well. How do I know this? I've been following the Jays since 1977. I know about frustration. I know about elation, but more about frustration. Last night's 5-2 loss to the White Sox, by the way, the American League Central leaders, showed that they are a much better team than the Jays. Much better. Not when it comes to talent, but when it comes to executing certain plays. And believe me, they're not a great defensive team. In fact, they're terrible. But the Jays are as well. But the White Sox have pitching. Their ace, Dallas Keuchel, outdueled our ace, Hyun-Jin Ryu. But it was defense that made the difference. And even though they kicked it all over the place and they played the game like the baseball was a wet bar of soap, the White Sox still beat the Jays because Lourdes Gurriel Jr. should not be playing left field. Didn't we know this a long time ago? But then he'd make this fabulous throw and get a runner at the plate. And then a week later, he'd make another fabulous throw, flat-footed, to get another runner at the plate. And we'd say, okay, we can put up with his defensive liability, with his not knowing how to track a fly ball that any little leaguer can make a play on. He twists and turns around like he's a cyclone. But he's got a great arm, so we put up with him. And as Mike Wilner pointed out yesterday, he was a finalist for the Gold Glove in left field last year because of the great throws that he made in a 60-game schedule. Okay, he's not a Gold Glover, not even close. He should have been charged with an error, but the official scorer gave the guy a double, and it opened the floodgates for a 3-run first inning. All of those runs should have been unearned against Ryu, but they were all earned because the official scorer was being generous. And because normally the official scorer doesn't charge an error on an outfielder who should have had his glove on the ball, should have caught the ball, right? Because the official scorer can't assume that a major league left fielder could make that play. So he gives the dude a double, who happens to be a hometown guy. That's my issue with official scores. That was an error, E7 all the way. I don't care if he put his glove on it or not. He misplayed the ball. If you misplay the ball, it's an error. And even Dan and Buck on the broadcast were like, "Ooh, man, that was terrible. It was an awful play by Gurriel." And so the Korean superstar afterwards settled down and shut the pail hose down for the rest of the way. But the damage was done. And the Jays lost 5-2. Couldn't do much against Dallas Keuchel. And even at the beginning of the broadcast, said, don't try to roll over. I mean, don't try to hit the ball hard against this guy. He throws slow and slower, and we can only get a couple of runs off of him, and we lost. So Toronto's now at 31-29. 6.5 games back of Tampa in the East. So I say right now, forget about winning the division, because you're not going to go by Boston and the Yankees and Tampa. You're just not. You're not going to bypass 3 teams. Unless you go on some kind of a 35-5 run when George Springer gets back and Steven Matz is mowing him down and Manoah is throwing no-hitters and Nate Pearson's up with the big club and Ryu is throwing shutout after shutout and Robbie Ray with his tight pants is striking out 18 or 20 batters a game. Then the Jays will take over first place. But now, no. There's no George Springer. And I don't even want to know about his freaking quadricep, this goddamn quadricep. It's been 7 weeks since he tried to come back from the injury that put him out of the first 3 weeks of the season, lasted 4 games. And should he have had surgery way back in March or April? Did the Jays know about this and say, let's see, it'll be okay? Because once he injured it the first time, they really had to be careful. Then when they rushed him back and he re-injured it, maybe they were going, oh, geez, we should have had surgery. Because something had to have been done to increase the recovery time. Whether it's surgery, whether it's some kind of rehab, whether he's in the whirlpool every day. Come on. What's he going to play, 95 games for us in his first year? $150 million guy. What's the lineup going to look like if we get this guy? Phenomenal. But right now, we need him. We're 3 games out of a wild card spot currently held by Boston. The Jays would have to pass Cleveland, Houston, and the Yankees in order to secure the last playoff position. Got it?
Got it.
All right. How are they going to do it? With Springer in the lineup. That's the only way they're going to do it. When's he available? Don't ask me. I'm sick of talking about it. So is every other reporter. Gregor Chisholm yesterday was like, oh, come on, please. No more questions. I don't want to hear an update on Springer. He's feeling better. He's running faster. He's running sprints. It's enough already. Sick and tired of hearing this. So the Jays aren't taking any chances. We get it. They say he's looking better every day. That's what they were saying in April. I'm looking better every day. You're looking better every day. We all look better every day. We're all day to day. I'll believe it when I see it. And believe me, when he comes back, he has to be leading off and playing center field. None of this DH crap. Get out there and play center field. That's what we're paying you for. Well, we're not paying you. Well, we are paying you. I would suspect that George will get a day off here or there. Kind of like Kawhi Leonard. A little bit of load management, maybe play DH once in a while. Don't want to hurt him. Right? He's like a thoroughbred out there. 95 games of George Springer. Meanwhile, what do you do with Gurriel? Great arm, but he plays left field like a combination of George Bell and Chris Colabello. Stumbling, bumbling. Since he came up as a shortstop, why not try him at third base? Why not? Is that George Bell jersey you got there?
That's a George Bell jersey. Hebsy, give me 5 seconds here. Hold on here.
Hi, I'm George Bell. You listen to Toronto Mike.
That's him.
Please continue.
That's Georgie. So, and listen, who didn't love George Bell? But you knew that every time there was a fly ball to left field, it was an adventure out there.
Yeah.
When Lourdes Gurriel starts hitting the ball like George Bell did and putting up MVP numbers, I could take a little bit of problems in left field when it comes to defense. When he's hitting 47 homers and driving in 134. But until that time, Lourdes is a bench warmer and maybe a third baseman. He played short coming up. Why not a third baseman? Try him there. You got no one. I mean, you got Panic. Biggio's coming back. I don't know why, because he didn't do anything down in Buffalo in his rehab stint. 1 for 11. So who knows? Or maybe you could trade Gurriel for some pitching help, because your outfield is going to be Springer, Teoscar, and Grichuk. That's pretty good. Jonathan Davis can be your fourth guy. I got that. You got some other prospects in the minors. You can always trade for a fourth outfielder. So unless Gurriel is going to be a somewhat everyday player. And the other thing is Gurriel he doesn't look like he's hustling out there. He doesn't look like he cares out there. He's not a blue-collar player. He doesn't get his uniform dirty. Do you know what I'm saying here, Mike?
Sure.
He reminds me of a guy named Jan Hervé Solarte, who played third base for the Jays 1 year and was the lazy, never ran out a double play ball, never hustled out there. If he made an error, he kind of, looked at his glove and rubbed it. I didn't like his attitude. And I'm starting to feel that way a bit about Gurriel. He's a little laissez-faire, a little lollygag. I think the intensity level's got to come up. And it's got nothing to do with his hair. And by the way, his brother, Yuli, has the same hair. Did you notice that? He's taken off his helmet and oh my God, they got the same hair.
Right.
Anyway, I shouldn't be saying anything about a player's personal appearance, right? How he dresses, how he looks, how he wears his hair. It's really wrong.
Only if you say positive things, right?
But I can tell you this right now about Gurriel. I'll bet you he uses the lawnmower 4.0 and the weed whacker and the ball toner too. I'm just saying. Let's talk about this team defensively too. While we're at it, you got this kid Riley Adams just came up, right? A raw rookie, replacing Danny Jansen. You've got Reese McGuire playing. You've got Alejandro Kirk on the DL, Jansen on the DL. You got another catcher in the minor system, and I can't think of his name. You got like 5 catchers on the 40-man roster. Maybe it's time you did some trading. You traded some of those chips because every team needs catching, and you helped out your pitching staff. How about that? Bolster the lineup. Just a suggestion to Ross Atkins, because you need more. Tampa's too good. Okay, and they're doing it with a payroll of half what the Jays. I think Tampa's payroll is like 65 million. Jays are like 130 some odd million. Ridiculous. How do they do that? They've got good personnel. They've got good scouts. Every player on that team can play multiple positions, right? They're versatile. They've got great pitching. They can trade away the Blake Snells of the world and the James Shields of the world and all these pitchers and still have a great staff. What do we have? We got Ryu. We got this rookie Alek Manoah. We got the amazing Robbie Ray with his tight pants. We got tonight's starter, Ross Stripling. We got Steven Matz. Both those two guys are pitching way better than I thought they would. Done a pretty good job. And maybe Nate Pearson, who threw 5 shutout innings for Buffalo last night against Scranton Wilkes-Barre. 5 shutout innings. He only walked 3 and gave up 3 hits. Maybe a few more of those. Maybe some confidence. Maybe the big right-hander's ready to pitch in the Major Leagues. And George Springer hitting atop the lineup. Who knows? Anyway, Garrett Richards goes for the Red Sox tonight. Ross Stripling for the Blue Jays at Fenway. Big weekend series. Big, big, big. I'll be listening on the radio to the Red Sox broadcast of it because I don't want to listen to a simulcast. Even though it's Dan Schulman and Buck Martinez, and even though Dan is pretty aware that there are radio listeners, it's still not the same. I want to listen to a radio on the broadcast. By the way, a lot of Blue Jay employees were let go this week. Mass firings, prompting many to believe that the team will not be playing any games at the Sky Dome this year. That's sad. Because they just moved from Dunedin to Buffalo. And even if the border reopens, highly unlikely that the team will pack up and move to Toronto. Even if they don't have to quarantine for 14 days, they're going to have to live in some kind of a bubble, right? And their families. And how do you do that? You move them into hotels. You find housing for them for what, a month or 2? No, not going to happen. You can have a full capacity eventually in Buffalo if New York State allows for it. We're close to full capacity. Wouldn't you rather play in front of 10, 15,000 screaming loyal fans as opposed to in a Sky Dome in front of nobody or maybe a few hundred? I would. As long as I can go across the border to watch them in Buffalo, I'm okay for this year. What about you?
I was wondering if they would make an exception for Blue Jays playoff series. Should we be so blessed, like sort of similar to the exception that they're making for the Montreal Canadiens?
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, but I think it's a good idea. I would believe that by then we'd be fully vaccinated in this province, so much so to the point where you didn't have to worry about restricting the number of people in restaurants or in any indoor setting.
And I'm a fan of the whole, like, okay, Pat, you have to prove you're fully vaccinated over 14 days ago, or you have a legit medical exemption as to why you can't get fully vaccinated. Like I think that maybe those are the people who are allowed to see Jays playoff games at the Dome this year.
Wait a minute, Mike. Did we not discuss this? And you said you were very much against the vaccination passport idea?
That was someone else. I never expressed that opinion.
Okay, my mistake. Yeah, so I think they're going to be the Buffalo Blue Jays for the rest of the year. And I think it's great for the city of Buffalo. And I think they deserve it in Buffalo. They do.
Why do they deserve it?
Well, here's why. They accepted us with open arms. They made, the organization allowed Buffalo to move to Trenton, New Jersey to play their games while the Blue Jays took over the Buffalo Stadium, Salem Field. And I think they could have gone anywhere. They could have stayed in Dunedin. They could have gone to Tampa and shared a building there. I don't know. But I just think that the city of Buffalo did a terrific job in allowing the Jays to come there and adopt them basically as their own team.
Okay, but
I think it's a good relationship that Toronto has with Buffalo, always has. Torontonians are Buffalo Bills fans. We're Buffalo fans. We've seen Buffalo television since we've grown up. Yep. And we're aware of what goes on down there and some of the hardships that the town has had and the sports teams that we've followed and the local personalities that we've seen on television there. And quite frankly, whenever I go to Buffalo, I enjoy myself, whether I'm going shopping or sightseeing or going to a game down there. Some of the restaurants or clubs, I've seen great concerts down there. So good on Buffalo.
Yeah, shout out to Commander Tom, who entertained me many Sunday mornings.
Oh, come on.
What?
Shout out to Commander Tom.
Yeah, he's still with us. I think he's in his late 80s, but he's still with us. He might be watching.
Dialing for Dollars was my favorite.
Irv Weinstein's no longer with us, sadly, but he was another good one.
A lot of those guys. Yeah, so I'm a big fan of Buffalo. And Dan Shulman, luckily, is doing the road games. So he's doing the games this weekend, the ones he just did them in Chicago and now in Boston. But when they get to Buffalo, it's going to be Buck Martinez from his Florida home doing the games with Pat Tabler from his Cincinnati home. And the funny thing is, there's no boots on the ground in Buffalo. I have not seen Ben Wagner or anybody with a report from Buffalo. And I don't like it when the announcers aren't there. I feel as, they have to probably speculate as to what's going on down on the field, even though they're sitting remotely.
Why aren't they there?
The ballpark.
Why the heck?
Well,
you're
what's
already
happened
in the States.
is that slowly but surely, radio and TV crews are being allowed to go back on the road. That's because their employers have said, let's just stay at your home, doing your work from there, as Dan has been doing all along, as Buck and Pat have. And it's also up to the various teams as to whether they're allowing media into their facilities. I don't know if the visiting media press box, radio or TV box are open in every field because of whatever restrictions they might have locally or municipally there. Isn't locally and municipally the same thing?
Yes.
Pretty much. Mm-hmm. So what's happening is slowly but surely, the more people that are being vaccinated, the more radio and TV crews are being allowed to physically go to the place where the game is being played. And the ones that aren't are doing a really good job of pretending that they're actually at the game.
Right.
But there's nothing like being there. There were two situations I can think of. One, Danny Jansen gets thrown out trying to go to third base, a foolish base running error, and then gets taken out of the game. So Buck and Pat are speculating that he was injured. Others are speculating that maybe he got pulled from the game, that Charlie Montoyo said, that's a base running blunder that might have cost us the game, and I'm benching you. Now, that was unlikely, but still, it would have been great to have boots on the ground, somebody there in the camera well saying, no, I just saw Danny Jansen, and he's rubbing his left thigh, and it looks like he's coming out of the game because he's injured. But instead, we had to wait 3 innings for the Blue Jays to officially announce that Danny Jansen was pulled from the game because of an injury. So little things like that with nobody there that affects the broadcast. And slowly but surely other teams, other broadcasts, TV and radio are allowing their announcers to travel.
I actually heard.
Hopefully the Jays will do that at least with Buck and Pat.
Right, because they're already down there.
Because they're already in the United States.
Right.
So if you got a homestand in Buffalo, send them to Buffalo. If they're allowed to sit up in this booth, send Ben Wagner there.
Right.
If you can send Hazel or Arash or Dan, great.
Right.
But
by the way,
on.
I heard Dan speak on this just this week, actually, and it's kind of interesting. He says the biggest difference, he says, when he's calling it from his home or whatever, or the Sportsnet studio, I suppose, versus being at the game is, let's say it's not, you're not sure if it's fair or foul, it's a home run ball or something. He would always look at the umpire and he would call it the way the umpire was calling it. And then if he was wrong, he would obviously blame the umpire because the umpire made the call and he was wrong. So you're just calling it the way the umpire called it.
Correct. You're just saying the call on the field is foul ball.
But on the screen, I guess when he's calling it, he has to make a call himself. He can't go look at the umpire and see what the umpire is gesturing.
He doesn't always have that view.
He doesn't have that view. Right.
His arms are tied because if it's the visiting team's television feed, they're going to show what they think the fans in Chicago want to see.
Right.
And as a TV announcer, you have to kind of go with the flow. That if you want to talk about Alek Manoah, but they're showing, Jose Abreu, it doesn't fit for your TV audience.
Right.
You're going, well, Manoah's done this, that, and he's reading, reciting stats. And so he has to be even more aware as to what the TV feed is showing the viewers. So it's just awfully tough.
Right.
So that's who would have ever thought that you would have to call a game not being there?
Right.
And it's done so often. All those soccer matches I watched for years that had Andres Contour calling the game. I thought he was there. I thought he was in Madrid. He was in Sao Paulo or wherever the game was. I just thought he was the announcer. They just sent him to the games. I had no idea he's sitting in a studio in Miami with the feed, the video feed of the game, and he can see all of it, and he's all plugged in there. He's sitting at home in Miami. The game's going on in Barcelona. That was fabulous. So the fact that it could be done was the precursor to these pandemic telecasts. It had been done before. There had been audio sweetening, right? There had been an announcer somewhere else and his disembodied voice put over top of the game that was going on in whatever the town was. Pretty cool.
Right.
I want to stay with baseball here. A lot of jabber about this foreign substance being put on the baseball known as spider tack. Being used by pitchers such as Garrett Cole, who almost admitted that, I cheat.
Right.
Because it increases the spin rate. And of course, the higher the spin rate, the more difficult it is to pick up the ball, the more it can move and stuff like that. So if you put this foreign substance on it and you throw it a certain way, you can make it sing. You can hear the ball singing as it zings by you.
Right.
And pitchers have been doing this for years, since the game was invented. Cutting it up, using a belt buckle, using a foreign object, a thumbtack, an emery board, a nail file,
scuffing it,
your teeth, your sweat, your, KY jelly. Whatever.
Right.
It's been going on for years. And now baseball's we got to stop this cheating. God, you know what? That ship has sailed. What I'm saying is, why don't you just forget it? Just say to the umpires, just call the balls and strikes and call the plays on the field. Eventually, you're all going to be replaced by robots anyway. And none of this nonsense. Let's go out and check to see if he's put something on the ball. I say you should be able to put anything on the ball and anything in your bat.
No, man, that's
yeah.
cheating.
No, come on, Mike.
You
Enough
can't
with
go
this.
open
Why? Every
season on
time somebody
cheating
strikes
here.
out, you're going to go check that ball.
Was it Phil
The spin
Negro?
rate
Was
was
it
too high.
Joe Negro? Who had the nail file?
Yeah, Joe Negro, the emery board.
Emery board.
The best was Rick Honeycutt. Had a thumbtack attached to a Band-Aid. And he'd scuff the ball.
And you're right. I always remember again, watching in the 80s, the pitcher going behind his ear or whatever, and you knew there was Vaseline or whatever.
They've been doing it for years.
I don't
they
think you can.
outlawed the spitball back in the 1920s.
Right. And I think
prior to that, you could spit all over the ball. You could spit chewing tobacco on it. There were no lights in those days, right? So you could, at 5:30 in the afternoon, it's getting dark maybe or something like that. The ball's covered in mud and spit and everything like that. You could barely see it.
Right.
A guy got killed by getting beamed at home plate. Back in those days, the ball was all scuffed, muddy, and they didn't replace it with a nice brand new ball. You kidding? That ball could sing an aria as it was on its way to home plate. The pitchers knew what to do.
So
you can't stop that.
If you're asking, my opinion on this is that, Major League Baseball should enforce this rule. To prevent the cheating. Well, that's the tricky part. But I don't think you can say it's open season, do whatever you want to the ball. Like that's insanity.
Well,
right?
Listen, if you catch a guy cheating, it has to be. I mean, the punishment has to be a deterrent.
Sure.
Not a 2-week suspension. You're going to miss 10 starts. Whatever that equals, 50 days or whatever.
We got to crack down on this because the game right now, it's what is it, home runs and strikeouts. Like we have to crack down on this just to make this game. I'd like to have a game that my teenage son will watch with me. Like
no chance. You know what he can watch with you? Bluejays in 30.
Right. Okay.
Because the game takes too long, and I timed a game last week where it was 11 minutes without a ball being put in play.
So why did we fall in love?
11 minutes.
Why did we fall in love with
ball play, there was a home run, so there's no defensive play there.
Right.
2 strikeouts, a walk, a hit by a pitch, and then another strikeout.
Okay.
So there was no defender made a play on a ball.
Right.
In that inning.
You grew up loving this game of baseball. You loved it as a child. I mean, I'm wearing my George Bell jersey for a reason. I grew up loving Blue Jays baseball and loving baseball. How do we get back to that? Like, what is it? The genie's out of the bottle. We can't.
Not going to happen, Mike. That's like getting back to television the way it was back in the 80s and 90s. Not going to happen. Things are changing too quickly. In the game of baseball, with the exception of 3 strikes for an out and 4 balls for a walk and 3 outs in an inning and 9 players aside and 90 feet between bases and for now 60 feet 6 inches from the mound to the home plate, who knows? The game is changing. The configuration of the ballparks, the way they hit the ball, the way pitchers pitch. This idea that back in the day, if you were a starting pitcher, you wanted to complete your mission.
Sure.
And relievers were like scrubs, secondary guys, right? And the idea is that the third time through the order, you were throwing a different mixture of pitches. You remembered, I got this guy out in the first inning like that. Second time he got a hit off me, I'm going to try something else. Now, God forbid a pitcher should face, the order third time through. So these guys, like, give me 5 innings and then give me some 97-mile-an-hour heater in the 6th. Give me a guy who throws 100 in the 7th. Give me a guy with a wicket splitter for the 8th. And give me another guy who throws 105 for the 9th inning. And so that's the way the game is. So now when you come up in the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning, you're facing a guy that's breathing fire out there. It's a different game. And it's hit the home run. And you know what? The balls are going out of the ballparks at alarming frequency, or guys are striking out. And it means that the rhythm of the game has changed. The rhythm of the game used to be, ground ball, tough play by an infielder, diving catch in the outfield, liner in the gap, ground rule double down the line, hard hit ball, knocked down by an infielder. Now it's strikeout, walk, strikeout, home run. There's just, I don't know the percentage, but the number of balls put in play, it just keeps going down and down.
Like I just, maybe I'm an old man yelling at the cloud right now, which is fine, but I just miss the rallies, like it's just the 7th inning, 6-run inning or whatever, but without a home run even. Anyway.
You gotta admit though, you see stuff in baseball that like you've never seen before. It just seems every day there's something else new in baseball. There was one yesterday where they called the infield fly rule on a ball that was hit to like shallow center field at Fenway Park. And so the infield fly rule is if there are runners at first and second, or the base is loaded and less than 2 outs. And the reason there's an infield fly rule, as soon as the ball's popped up to the infield, the umpire calls the batter out. The reason for that is if he doesn't, the infielder can let the pop-up drop and then get a double play.
Easy double play, yep.
Right. So, but if the ball's hit to like shallow center field, you can't call the batter automatically out. Right? Even if the infielder was to be going back and let the ball drop, he's not going to get a double play. So that ball's got to be in play. Anyway, it was just wacky. So baseball's just got some wacky stuff, but some real talented players. If your last name ends with Junior, you're a great player. You're going to the Hall of Fame. Every ball player named Junior now is a future Hall of Famer, it just seems.
Wow.
Are you interested in the Toronto sports radio ratings, Mike? I know this is a podcast.
Literally.
Radio is a form of communication.
But we're 36 minutes into this episode, and I've been like salivating here, waiting for this Toronto sports media round discussion here. So absolutely, I'm interested.
Okay. So what if I told you that this podcast, the one you're listening to now, has as many, if not more listeners than TSN Radio or The Fan on their mid-morning radio shows? Not streaming. I'm talking listening live.
Listening live, I would not be surprised by that fact.
Good, you shouldn't be, because it's true. We have somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,000. They don't. So if you take away Overdrive's incredible numbers in the afternoon, TSN 1050 has a 0.8 share the rest of the day among males 25 to 54.
Can you explain
That's
for
horrible.
the audience, though, what does that mean, 0.0?
It means less than 1% of all people listening to the radio at that time, age 25 to 54, in the Toronto CMA. Mm-hmm. Less than 1% are listening to TSN radio.
That's not very many people.
No. Now at the Fan, the morning show has a 2 share. So 2% of all people listening to radio, ages 25 to 54, males.
Right. And that's their target demo. Yeah.
Are listening to the Fan, and 0.9 are listening to TSN. From 10 till 3 in the morning, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., TSN has a 0.6 share, and the Fan's at 3.7.
And I just tell the listenership that we're talking about percentage of a pie, like a slice of a pie, but that pie has shrunk so dramatically the last 10 years.
Well, the total size of the pie,
right.
Yeah. So you're now looking at 0.9% of considerably less listeners.
People who actually listen to terrestrial radio live. Right.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right. And most people tell me that if they do listen to TSN Overdrive, they listen to the podcast or they stream it, but they don't listen to it live on the radio.
Question. Let's say you're one of those selected people. I don't know how many there are, 5,000 people, whatever.
Not even.
Okay, well, how much? The ppm people I'm talking about, the people who are measuring this and then
they have to wear a device.
But are they measured for streaming?
No.
Like there's no, because I thought maybe there was something they plug in their computer that could measure streaming.
There may be, but I don't believe
right.
that
they're doing it.
You can accurately get the streaming numbers. That the only way they can do it, Numeris, is through the ppms.
Because that's what these stations are kind of holding. They're kind of saying, okay, yeah, they're measuring people listening to terrestrial radio, but how many are streaming? How many are downloading the podcast? There's 1,000 million trillion people doing that. Like that's sort of their black box.
If they were smart, they would do what we were doing, what we do, and that is you make the podcast available,
right,
and then promote the hell out of it. And then if you're smart, try to sell some ad time. You say, look, this is how many people are listening to the podcast. We got our podcast numbers. We can charge accordingly.
Okay,
double dip it.
So speaking of Fan 590.
I'm not finished with the numbers.
Oh yeah, you finished the numbers, and then I have
Afternoon Drive. The Fan, which is Tim and Friends, 2.4 share. Overdrive, a 5 share. Males 25 to 54. For the week, that's all shows from 5 a.m. until 1 a.m. TSN clocks in at a 1.7. The Fan, a 3.3. So double the audience. And the biggest comparison, Overdrive is up 103%. Tim and Friends is down 6.5%.
That Overdrive increase, is that pretty much the old primetime sports crowd looking for some new sports radio? Okay.
Oh, yeah, some of it I think, but I think it's a younger audience. It skews younger. A lot more of them are streaming than listening on radio. And let's not get ahead of ourselves. McCowan's numbers were way better than that in his prime. He was drawing a 9, 10, 11 share. So much bigger. So you got a ways to go for TSN radio for that show to reach McCowan type numbers.
Now, of course, the 35 and under crowd is not a terrestrial radio listenership audience. Did I say that right? Anyway, that's like
my sons wouldn't know what an AM radio is,
right?
Or how to find it even.
So then I always wonder, like, what are we measuring now? Like, this is such it's sort of like if there's no one listening to the radio, then, that's just the AM signal is just one distribution method, but really you're a podcast like we are.
But I mean, I guess you could listen to it on the iHeart Radio app or whatever apps they've got.
Tune in is a big one.
Yeah, on app.
Tune in.
But more and more people are listening to podcasts.
Agreed. Yep.
Okay. And not necessarily the podcast of a radio show with the exception of Overdrive, that might be one of those, we're promoting the local people that are on this station and the properties that we own.
Right.
And we're not really being objective when it comes to the issues surrounding the people that own this radio station, which also own this sports entity, this partnership. And people are listening to podcasts like this because they're getting no bullshit. They're getting honest responses that are not tinged with corporate,
allegiance.
Speak.
Right.
None of that stuff.
You're fiercely independent.
And they're getting a fiercely independent, but an honest broadcast.
Right.
And let's face it, a lot of people listening to it are going, wait a minute, are they saying this because their jobs depend on it and they have to promote this person who works for Sportsnet or this TSN person or, because that's all it is in a lot of cases. They're talking to other people that are employed by the same company for their expertise.
Right.
Nice cross promotion.
Now,
Let's go to hockey now.
Wait, no, because I have one thing quickly to add that I think.
For Christ's sakes.
Yeah,
why
come
didn't
on.
you say so?
I just did. So, Greg Brady, two-time morning show host on the Fan 590. There was some murmuring about maybe will he get a third tour of duty? Like maybe when Labor Day comes, will Greg Brady be back in the morning show spot at 590? Like I've heard rumblings about this. I don't know if you've heard anything like that.
Rumblings? What do you mean you've heard rumblings?
But here's
what does that mean?
This is rumblings means I have people that are more inside than I am who feed me the odd tidbit here and there. There was some rumblings, possibly a third tour of duty by Greg Brady in the mornings on 590. But this is interesting. Mike Stafford was just fired as morning show host on 640.
Didn't he just get hired at 640?
Mike Stafford? No, he's been there forever. Like
No, I don't mean in the mornings for mornings. He hasn't been doing mornings all along.
He's been there probably 3 years, maybe 3 years.
Has it been 3 years?
Yeah, I think 2018.
He took over for a couple of people for the National Post. Right?
Yeah, Matt Gurney and Supriya Dwivedi.
Not very good numbers.
No, but he was fired for a variety of reasons. Go to torontomike.com to learn why. But here's where it fits in.
He's a racist, right?
He said racist.
Alleged.
Yes.
He's an alleged racist.
Well, he said racist things, so I don't know.
Well, that would make him somewhat racist.
Right,
anyway.
And multiple times.
So,
but hold on.
So what's your feeling?
Here, this is where I'm going sports radio-wise, because obviously we don't talk about 640 on this show, because 590 is the sports station. But if Greg Brady looks like the heir apparent to take over the morning show on 640, I think possibly they give him that job because he's been filling in anyways, right? So if Greg Brady is the morning show host on 640, that would take him out of contention to be the morning show host on 590. And it might mess with some plans that are in the works for Labor Day.
Why do you think he would want to go back to Rogers after the way they treated him?
Well,
think about that. The instability of Rogers radio.
Yeah.
For all the times that he worked.
All radios.
Do you think it's more stable now?
No, but 640 is not stable. They could be all traffic next month. I don't think 640.
No. I disagree.
You think 640 is a more stable gig than 590?
Oh, for sure.
Okay, possibly, but I will just say this.
And I'll tell you why. I think you have to look at the management, and I think you have to look at the ownership of both stations. Rogers
Chorus versus Rogers?
Rogers doesn't give a shit about the fan. They know.
And you think Chorus is all in with 640?
If they cared about the fan, the Blue Jay games would have their own separate radio broadcast. They wouldn't be simulcasting from Rogers Sportsnet's TV audio.
They've said it's only for COVID.
That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, by now, they would have had a solid morning show in place to kick the snot out of Landsberg and Koliakovo on TSN. They haven't. They're not motivated at Rogers Radio to do with the fan what the listeners expect, what the sports fans of Toronto expect. They're not. They're going through the motions. You were our program director. You hired Dean Blundell. You did that. Andrew Crystal, you're out. Bob McCowan, you're out. Tim and Sid, you're out. You're in. You're out. You're going to TV. You're coming back to radio. You're The good show. You're going to take over 1 to 4. No, you're going to be 9 to noon. No, Blair's going to be there. No, it's Kevin Barker. It's Jeff Blair. It's Hazel. It's right. They're all over the map.
Okay.
The Jays game is on. The Jays game's not on. The Leaf game is on. No, the game's on. Now that's on 680 News. I'm sorry, that's City TV radio news now. It's all changing.
Right.
It's not getting better, Mike. It's getting worse. Why would you throw yourself into that shit when already twice you've been shown the door? Why wouldn't you want something where, and remember, Greg started in Toronto at 640.
Yeah.
So there is some, it's nice to know that someone would say, look, we like you. We always liked what you did. You left us on good terms. We've got something for you here. You fill in there. You can fill in there. You're getting some gigs. But at the Fan, who knows, man? I mean, for all I know, Roger Lajoie is the new morning man. He's been there for 35 years.
Could you imagine? More maybe. Okay. All right. I hear you.
Storm and Norman Rumack, the new morning man with Howard Berger.
Oh, they're available. Yeah, sure.
Doug McLean, Nick Kiprios. That'd be Hockey Central at 8 a.m., the new show. Okay? Bring in Dan O'Toole. Go get Nastasha Stanishevsky. Some people that we know. Put them on the air.
And I'm here to tell you, Hebsy, that if Greg Brady did not get the 640 morning show, but I actually think he is, which is why this won't happen. But if he did not, I think he would be very interested in having a full-time paycheck in the radio. And I think he'd be okay going back to 590 because it is a different program director there now.
You think it's all about
money. But you know
money,
him better
Mike.
than I do.
You think it's all about money, but it's
I know.
not.
I think a lot of it has to do with getting a gig in radio.
And I think that before the pandemic, the first thing you'd say, well, you go where the money is. And now that you've been, you can't see certain people, you can't do certain things, you have more of an appreciation for the time spent with loved ones and with your friends. You cherish it more. And so it's not all about money. And it's kind of like when I want to talk about Zach Hyman here in a second, is that everyone's going, oh, he's going to get money here, there. What makes you think that someone would want to leave their hometown where they're building a brand, where they have family, where they have roots, to go to another city that they know nothing about or that don't know anyone there, just because they're going to pay him more money to play hockey? I mean, if I said to you, Mike, you could make $3 million here, right, and be happier in hell, or you could make $5 million there, maybe not as happy, but you're making more money. And then when the time comes that your career ends, you can always go back home and take all that money that you made and make yourself happy. You say, well, wait a second, man, I'm from here. I have roots here. I don't mind making $3 million a year here. I'm okay with that. If I can build my brand here in Toronto, I can make the extra $2 million on the business side. I can make $5 million here, but I can't go to Philadelphia and make a penny on my brand. And so we're into another story now.
Yeah, sure. We're on hockey now.
But it's not all about the money, Mike. It's about being happy. And the money doesn't buy the happiness.
I'm with you on the Zach Hyman front. I know we've moved on from Greg Brady, but I'm saying, as you know, there's only so many full-time permanent jobs in the world of Toronto radio. There's only a handful, and if you can secure one, usually you take what you can get there.
Well, if you were to be saying that to me, Mike, in 2012, I'd say you're 100% right. But this is 2021.
Right.
And radio ain't the same. Podcasting, that's the way to go. Let's go to hockey. What an atmosphere in Vegas last night. 18,000 screaming, hanky-waving fans at the T-Mobile Arena saw the Golden Knights advance to the Cup semifinal by knocking off Colorado in 6 games. Phenomenal. Great game. After the Avs won the first 2 games, nobody thought that the Vegas squad could storm back and win 4 in a row, except for Coach Peter DeBoer and the Vegas players. And he didn't mind telling the assembled media that. Nobody gave us a chance. And think about this, folks. Anytime a team loses the first 2 games of a series, any series in any sport, and get waxed in both games, nobody says, oh, wait till we get them back at our place, we'll show them. Because how can a team that looked so bad against a team that looked so unbeatable turn things around? That's the beauty of sports. Look at the Toronto Maple Leafs, home and cooled out against Montreal, up 3-1, baby. No. And so Vegas, like Montreal, against all odds, comes back from a big deficit and wins a series. And those two will take each other on starting Monday in Vegas. The other semifinal has Tampa against the Islanders. That begins Sunday. It's very exciting, except for people in Toronto who are being forced to look at the Canadiens' colors on the CN Tower. Now, the mayor of Toronto, John Tory, says he didn't know anything about it. This is bullshit. I want to know who's responsible for putting the Montreal Canadiens colors up on the CN Tower, because never in a million years would anyone in Montreal acknowledge the Toronto Maple Leafs if they had advanced by beating Montreal. No way in Montreal are they going to put Maple Leaf colors on the St. Joseph's Oratory. No way.
Agreed, 100%. But that is a federal building, that CN Tower. So obviously this is a federal thing. But I will just say that it's embarrassing. I found it it's just embarrassing. It's, what's the term you might use? Cuck. We were cucked, I believe. Well, that's a shout out to old English classes. But
can you imagine in Montreal, they say, what the hell is that? On the federal building in Montreal. What that?
Yeah, no.
Maple Leaf colors?
I find it just cringing embarrassment that we would pay any tribute to another team for going to this Final Four. That's embarrassing.
Look at those wimps in Toronto. Okay, bending over for Montreal after Montreal just stuck it to you.
So let's talk about this because we've like there is that.
You really want to talk about this?
Well, I know about the fact that some people think you should root for the Canadian-based team. I've never had any of that in my being ever. Like, in fact, I root against the other Canadian teams because I want the next Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup to be my Toronto Maple Leafs, and I believe that passionately. So I'm rooting. I want Vegas to win in 4 straight, but not just because it's the Habs. If it was the Jets, I'd want Vegas to win in 4 straight. Like, I root against the other Canadian teams. Why is it that people think you need to root for a Canadian team if the Leafs are out?
Well, that comes from television. That comes from the networks. That comes from Hockey Night in Canada. You tune in the game. It's all the Canadian teams. Let's go Canada. If there's one team left, you got to throw your weight behind it. The CBC, Sportsnet, throw our weight behind the one Canadian team that's left because that's the only way we're going to generate any fucking revenue is if there's any Canadian team in there. Of course, if it's not the Leafs, we're not as enthused because the numbers go way down, as you've pointed out, and everybody.
Do we know the numbers? Because I didn't watch a minute of Montreal versus I didn't watch a single minute. Do we know the numbers? Okay.
I don't even remember who Montreal played now.
But we're talking like they're hitting. Did they hit 2 million ever? Like, does that even happen, or do you have to factor in
I think it's about 2 million.
The French network too? Maybe
doesn't matter. To me.
It
doesn't include streaming numbers. It doesn't. I don't know.
I didn't watch a minute, my friend. I was out.
I didn't. I watched some, but I wasn't. I was rooting for Winnipeg for a while there just to make it a series.
Right.
But that Scheifele hits.
Right.
And then Scheifele comes and says, "Well, I wasn't put down by a Montreal Canadiens. I was put down by the Department of Player Safety." Like, what? You made a most idiotic move. And I don't care if you only had 12 penalty minutes in the regular season. You had a brain cramp of all brain cramps. And now you're saying, four games was too harsh. Are you nuts?
Hebsy, what do you think of this narrative? Every time the New York Islanders have playoff success, which they're having quite a bit this year, they're playing Tampa Bay in the conference final there, or whatever. No, what is it? Yeah, the conference final. Where are we at? Anyway.
It's the semifinals.
Semifinals, okay. So every time that happens, we hear about how, Shanahan picked the wrong guy. Like, he went with Dubas over Lou Lamoriello. We hear that. Yeah. Then we also hear, look, John Tavares leaves the team and they have more success than they had with him, and the Leafs can't win a playoff round. Like, what do you think of those narratives that seem to be repeated by the Steve Simmons and everybody out there who seems to root for Lou Lamoriello?
Well, they're easy because the Leafs keep losing in the playoffs. So it's you just go back into your bag of tricks going, there's the Lamoriello one, there's the Tavares, there's the Islander one. Let's pull that one out. Of course, when the Leafs were winning, they weren't saying that. Leafs were just moving along. There was no comparisons. Nobody even paid attention to Lou Lamoriello and Barry Trotz on the island. And now, of course, that the Leafs have now lost another series, and I believe the Islanders have won 5 playoff series since Lamoriello arrived.
Sure.
And the Leafs have won 0. None.
Okay, so last point before you get to the Euros. I know you love to talk Euros, and I want to hear about that. But one last thing here, real quick, is you were raised in a time where there was no Toronto Blue Jays. See, I was raised with the Blue Jays, so I always rooted for the Blue Jays. Were you an Expos fan because they were a Canadian team? Okay, so
huge.
So
no, I was a baseball fan.
Okay.
And I didn't have a particular team because it depended on who was on NBC's Game of the Week every Saturday. You didn't get baseball on TV. You got your NBC game once a week.
Right.
And then the World Series, the playoffs.
Sure.
So when the Expos came along in 1969, I'm 13 years old, and I'm a huge baseball fan. So naturally, there were games on TV. The CBC ran, 20 games a year.
Right.
And so they became my favorite team.
Right.
Because they were available on television. They could have been in Winnipeg. They could have been in Vancouver. It didn't matter.
Right.
As soon as the games were televised and I got a chance to see the games, that made me a fan.
That makes sense.
That's how you become a fan. That's why when television first came out in the late 40s and the early 50s, a lot of baseball teams especially, and hockey teams too, refused to have their home games televised because they felt that people wouldn't go to the game. Why would they when they could watch it on television?
Right.
They didn't realize that the power of television was such that the more people that watched it, the more would want to go to a game and see it live, experience it.
This kind of fucked the CFL, right? Like, there were a lot of Argos games I remember being blacked out. So
they didn't look at it that way.
Now,
and so probably the best example was the Chicago Blackhawks, who up until the time, even into the 90s, their home games were not available on local Chicago television.
Wow.
Even though the barn was full, you couldn't get a seat in the Chicago Stadium. Bill Wirtz, the owner, would not allow the home games to be televised. So generations of potential Chicago hockey fans never got an opportunity to see their team in their glory. Only the road games. Never got a chance to see what it was like, feel the atmosphere in the Chicago stadium, watching their home team play.
Wow.
And then wanting to get tickets to those games,
Right.
which were always sold out.
Wow.
So very different.
So I just think the compare there would be, so we have the Raptors and Blue Jays are the only Canadian franchises in their respective leagues. So I'm only a Toronto guy, but I'm guessing like if you're in Winnipeg, you'd root for the Raptors because you get all the games on the Sportsnet or TSN.
Right.
Like, so it's not so much that they're Canadian based. It's more that that's what you're being fed over the air, or am I?
But the difference is, Mike, in 77 or 69, when the Expo started, you got CBC, you got CTV.
Right.
That's it.
Right. Now you can watch any game, right?
Now you could subscribe to the Major League Baseball and watch every single game.
Just always
Minnesota
curious
Twins,
about that.
Milwaukee Braves, Milwaukee Brewers, whoever, it doesn't matter. But back then, if you wanted to watch baseball on television, you had the NBC Game of the Week on Saturdays, and you had the Expos games, and then later the Blue Jays games.
Right.
And now every game's on TV.
So in conclusion, okay, if you're the only franchise in the country, like the Expos were for several years, or like the Raptors and Blue Jays are right now, you can make this case you could talk about being Canada's team, even though you're not. It's the Toronto Blue Jays, the Toronto Raptors.
Of course.
But with regards to the NHL, where all the major cities the biggest cities in Canada all have their own freaking franchises, this concept does not exist. No Leaf fan is going to root for the Montreal Canadiens because they're Canadian based and they're the only Canadian team left. That is bullshit. It always has been. We got to stop this narrative. It's such bullshit.
Oh, I agree. Look, I like the members of the media or the friends that I have in Montreal, in Winnipeg, in Calgary, in Edmonton, in Regina, in BC, all over. I like them, the people, but I don't like the Calgary Stampeders, the Edmonton Elks, the Edmonton Oilers, the Calgary Flames. I hate the Vancouver Canucks, the British Columbia Lions, the Saskatchewan Rough Riders, the Winnipeg Jets, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I hate them. I hate those teams. I hate the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I hate the Ottawa Renegades. I hate the Montreal Alouettes and the Montreal Canadiens.
There's no Renegades, right?
What are they called?
Red Blacks?
Thank you. Ottawa Red Black. I don't like that name anyway. But still, I don't like any of those teams. I like the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Toronto Raptors, the Toronto Blue Jays. TFC, not as much as I used to. Not nuts about them. Argos, no, not anymore. I'm not a fan of the CFL at all. And so those are the teams that I root for. And there's certain players that I root for that play on other teams, right? And there's certain teams that if my team isn't playing, I might root for. I hate to see the Yankees win, so I'll root against the Yankees.
Right.
I'll root against the Boston Bruins.
Right.
That kind of a thing. That's the kind of fan I am. And this morning at 12:01 a.m., I was on the patio drinking a beer because I could, because we're open for the first time and just in time for Euro 2020.
Woo!
The huge soccer event that was postponed from last summer. And the reason they're not calling it Euro 2021 is because all the merch has Euro 2020 on it. It was pre-ordered. Millions and millions of T-shirts and caps and all the apparel and the pins. It all has 2020 on it. What are they going to do? Send it back?
Right.
Make us a whole bunch with 2021. Oh, sorry, that's been canceled. Okay, send that back. Make it 2022. No. And since I have no skin in the game at all, I mean, Canada does not have a team in Euro 2020.
Right.
But I live in Little Italy.
Right.
And I have to root for the Italians or I'll never hear the end of it. You know what I mean? I have to.
Right.
But I also live near Little Portugal. And I'm a fan of Cristiano Ronaldo. And I do have an affinity for French food. So I have to be careful. I like France. And every Thanksgiving I like turkey. But I can't root for Turkey because they're playing Italy today.
Right.
In the middle of Little Italy.
What time is that match?
The same guys. Hey, Mark. What do you think about Italy this year? You like Italy this year? Wow. Mark, what, Mark, who do you like in the group of death? I'm like, the group of death?
Serious.
You know what the group of death is this year? It's the Hungarians. It's the Portuguese. It's them French. And it's them Germans. Who do you like?
That is a tough group.
I'm like, I don't know. Who do you like? Well, I don't like Germany. That's for sure. I don't like them. Didn't like what they did to us back in the 30s. Hungary, not crazy about them either.
Wow.
Portugal, can't stand them. I don't mind a French baguette once in a while. I'll go with France.
You're like
Hey,
an
Mark,
extra.
Mark, what about Zach Hyman? Because he's not going to sign with the Leafs, and they're going to lose him. Don't worry about Zach Hyman; he'll be fine. What do you mean he'll be fine? I'm going to take $5 million to go somewhere else. The Leafs aren't going to pay him $5 million. Yeah, but Zach Hyman's from Toronto. He's from here. His family's from here. He's a Toronto guy. His brand in Toronto and in Canada is huge. If he goes somewhere else, he'll make more money, but the brand will be nothing. What are you talking about, Mark? He's going to go for the money. The Leafs aren't going to pay this guy. So this is what I have to go through. So that's why I have to root for Italy in Euro 2020.
And I just say, if they ever reboot The Sopranos, I think a prequel is coming. You'd make a good extra. Like, I could see you there kind of.
Oh, no, these are real guys, Mike.
I know.
I see these guys all the time. Hey, Mark, I see them from across the street. Hey, Mark, come over here. Come over here. Guy might even meet me in the middle of the street sometime. I got to talk to you a second. What are they going to do with the goaltending? But they never go like this. Hey, Mark, what about Donovan Mitchell of the Utah Jazz? You think he's a better player than Steph Curry? Never. You'll never hear guys say that. None of the Italians I know, the Portuguese, no one will ever say, hey, Mike, come over here. You think Steve Nash could be coach of the year this year for Brooklyn? What do you think of Durant and Harden and Kyrie Irving? Are they the best threesome you've ever seen? No, seriously, because I used to play basketball back in Parma. Never.
Right.
Not going to happen. By the way, the Utah Jazz are up 2-0 in their series with the LA Clippers and Kawhi Leonard. Thanks to a 117-111 win last night. Donovan Mitchell, he's a good player. Had 45 points in the opening game, 37 last night against the Clippers. Game 3 is Saturday in Los Angeles. Home of the Clippers. Lakers, they're gone. Mm-hmm. In the Eastern semifinal, Milwaukee stopped the bleeding with an 86-83 win over Brooklyn, 86-83. So the Nets now lead the series 2-1. Game 4 in Wisconsin on Sunday. Tonight, Philadelphia at home to Atlanta. The series even 1-1. And the other Western semi has Phoenix up 2-0, visiting the Denver Nuggets. In golf, it's the Palmetto Championship in South Carolina. Never heard of this tournament before. Some guy named Wes Roach, the leader at 700. Never heard of him. He's never heard of me. No, I shouldn't say that. He may listen to the podcast right now.
He might know you.
And if you are Wes, hey, good luck at the Palmetto Championships. Top Canadian Roger Sloan at -4. At the LPGA Medi-Heal Championship, Brooke Henderson tied for 113th after a 5/77. Did you hear about John Rahm last week, Mike?
Yes, I did. I did hear about this. Yes.
He's leading the Memorial Tournament by 6 shots after the third round. 6 shots. Comes off the 18th green. An official comes over, whispers something in his ear, and he literally falls to his knees. Rahm, no, oh no. What the hell's going on? They told him he tested positive for COVID and would be disqualified. I don't know if he had to withdraw or was disqualified. I think he had to withdraw because the tour rules state, PGA Tour rules, that anyone who tests positive must immediately isolate. So Rahm was out. And I'm saying to myself, wait a second. First of all, to tell the guy in front of everybody that he's been disqualified or that he can't play because he's tested positive is just amateurish, man. Wait till the guy gets in. Give him some privacy before you lay this on him. He's got a 6-shot lead. He's going to win this tournament. And now he can't play? That's wrong. He should have been allowed to go out the next morning by himself and post a score.
Wow.
I believe. Because to me, to say, oh, no, you've got to isolate like right now. You got to isolate for 14 days or 10 days or whatever it is on the tour and test. Hey, wait a second. I'm going to be by myself. I'm going to be outdoors by myself, perfectly healthy, no symptoms at all, not going to come anywhere near anybody. I should be allowed to post the score. And if that was the case, he would have won that tournament easily.
Hebsy, though, they know the rules going in. The rules are clear, and you got to enforce the rules as they're written. You can't suddenly make this big exception. Oh, we're going to let you. Come on. That's not how these golf of all sports doesn't bend rules.
Mike, the guy had a 6-shot lead. Are you kidding?
The rules are the rules.
Whether he was positive or not, he was. And if
was he vaccinated? Do we know? Was this guy fully vaccinated? Do we have?
Well, that's the thing. Probably not, because if he was fully vaccinated, it was unlikely that he would have tested positive for COVID. Correct?
Unlikely is exactly correct. Yes, there's like
unlikely
90-something.
So I'm thinking
efficacy.
Not vaccinated, and if that's the case, okay, you knew what the rules were. But at the same time, as a golf fan, I would have liked to have seen him play all 72 holes, and if he could have done it safely, which I believe he could have by going out by himself and posting a score the next morning. Anyway, that's just me.
Paul Hockyard, I don't know if he knows this. He says he wasn't vaccinated, but
he knows that for a fact, or he's
Paul. Get back to us if that's
assumption.
a fact or if that's an assumption. He's going to get back.
I never heard anyone ask John Rahm or him answer as to whether he was vaccinated or not. But that's a good assumption.
Would have been my first question. Is that too personal, that medical question? I feel like that's fair game.
Well, again, I'm not sure he was interviewed by the media at all. I don't believe he made any statement or anything to that effect or answered any questions as to whether he's vaccinated. That's just me. I didn't.
Okay, Paul Hockyard says that's a fact. So apparently somewhere it's on the record.
So it is. It's confirmed that he said he admitted that he wasn't vaccinated.
I haven't met Paul, but he's been a big fan.
Does Paul have a podcast where he had this, or Paul is just one of our great listeners who's making an assumption here?
Right. He says it's a fact.
I need a second source. No offense, Paul, but that's what.
Well, we need Paul to give us his source.
I need two
Paul's not a source.
Independent sources to say that it's confirmed that John Rahm said that he has not been fully vaccinated. In the meantime,
go ahead.
I know that I can go to Crosswinds Golf and Country Club anytime. And even if I'm not fully vaccinated, which I will be next week,
right,
all the precautions are in place to ensure that your golfing experience is a pleasant one and COVID-free. No problems at all. Go to crosswindsgolf.com, book your tee time online. It's beautiful. It's in great shape. The views are spectacular. And I play there all the time, and it's just wonderful. It's a great golfing experience. Crosswindsgolf.com. Show him the hat there, Mike. There you go.
Oh, Paul says he's citing sources, and they're very good. He says the PGA and the Golf Channel. I need to know
the sources.
Golf Channel and PGA. This is on the record.
If the Golf Channel and the PGA Tour both confirm that he has not been fully vaccinated, then he's an idiot, and he deserves what he gets.
Right.
I take back everything else I said. At the French Open, we're talking tennis now on the red clay at Roland Garros, Stade Roland Garros. The semifinals are going on. Excuse me. Number 5, Stefanos Tsitsipas is playing number 6, Sasha Zverev. It's going on right now.
Do you want an update?
Number 3 seed, Rafael Nadal, is taking on the number 1 seed, Novak Djokovic, later.
Do you want an update on the Tsitsipas? Did I say that right? Tsitsipas?
Tsitsipas.
He's up 2-0 over.
2 sets to love?
Yes.
2-0.
It's 2-zip. It's 2-zip in the tennis game.
It's the best 3 out of 5 at the French Open for the men,
right?
Not for the ladies.
I know you have an issue with that, as I recall.
Well, I'm saying if you want the same amount of money, you should play the same number of sets. That's just me. I'm not talking about the female golfers having to play from the men's tees. I'm talking about female versus female. Play the best 3 out of 5. The men do, or let the men play best 2 out of 3, and then you're fully equal.
Maybe another day. I don't know if I can get into it now, but I think that's.
It's because I'm right. Because if you want equality, right. You want the equal amount of money, you play the equal amount of time.
The money's
simple.
It's a different.
Quite simple. Are female hockey players playing 45-minute hockey games?
Why do you think women do best of 3 instead of best of 5? Why do you think that is?
Not for me to say, but they should change the rule. Oh, I got it. Here's why. The same reason why women were not allowed to, there was no women's marathon in the Olympics, or women's 10,000 meters in the Olympics, or women weren't allowed to swim any more than 200 meters, right? Because, oh my God, they're women and they'll sink like a stone. Think about that. Think about all the sports and all the events.
Yeah, I think the marathon
that women were never.
Their uterus would fall out or something. I can't remember.
Women can't throw a shot, but they're going to hurt themselves. You want women to run a mile? Are you out of your mind? Think about that for a second, Mike. Think about the evolution of athletics and what women weren't allowed to do. Women's basketball was you can bounce it and grab it and bounce it and grab it and, all that stuff. Men's basketball was you can't bounce it and grab it, bounce it. You got to. Suddenly they said, maybe we should make it the same for women. Maybe we should make the rules exact. What's the difference? Who's playing? It's the same rules.
It's about, though, you want it to be entertaining to the audience. It's possible that you've got, when the women are in that 5th match, it's some awful tennis. Like simply biologically, it would not be.
What are you saying, Mike?
It might not be tennis you want to watch. Mike? Like I think that the best of 3 gives you top quality tennis, and it attracts a lot of viewers.
What's your opinion of a women's marathon? Because let's face it, the women in the last few miles of a marathon are not going to make it nearly as interesting as the men
but marathon's different. Marathons are never interesting.
25th and 26th mile of a marathon. Get out of here. I don't even want to talk about this. Because you're just wrong about this. You want equality? Great. You didn't have it in the past, okay? And now you can? Great. Make up for it. Step up. You want the same amount of money, play 3 out of 5 sets.
Wow.
It's quite simple. Okay. Are the nets in women's hockey 4x6 or are they smaller because they're women? Is the rim 10 feet high in women's basketball or 9.5 because they're women? Come on, Mike. This year in tennis, no Osaka, no Bianca, no Serena, no interest.
Woo.
Don't care. I cannot even pronounce the names of the 2 women who were in the French Open final. They both end in ova. I don't know who they are. So I don't care. If they don't care, I don't care. There's a lot of annoying commercials out there, eh, Mike?
Indeed.
Because if you watch the Jays or you watch hockey, you watch the sports channels, you get a repeat of the same commercial.
Right.
There's that Tim Hortons hockey stick collection. Oh, you mean Austin Matthews is the best player? Shea Weber, first ballot All-Star, first ballot Hall of Famer, eh? Eh? Giddy up. Yeah, dumb commercial. And then there's the Sportsnet Life Coach. There's only one good commercial that he's on, and that's the one where he falls asleep, wakes up, looks at his iPad and goes, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., how long have I been sleeping?
Right.
That's a good line. The rest of them are shit. Okay, and I saw this guy on a couple of other commercials too, the same guy. I'm going, it's the Sportsnet Life Coach sitting on a couch doing a commercial for air conditioners or something.
Right.
It's him. Most annoying character. And the Hyundai spot where the kid pees in his pants in the back seat of the car. They've edited 15 times.
Right.
They're all bad commercials. They're shitty commercials, stupid commercials. But the best one is this Uber Eats commercial with Patrick Waugh and Mario Tremblay playing table hockey. Have you seen it?
I don't think I've seen it.
Oh, you would know if you saw it.
Okay, I haven't seen it.
Okay, you know it's Patrick Waugh. You know it's Mario Tremblay. They're playing table hockey.
But I haven't watched hockey since the Game 7 Leafs Habs.
Okay. One of them scores. Oh, Mario Tremblay scores, I guess. And they flash to the scoreboard. The score is 9-1. And then they cut to Patrick Waugh, and he kind of raises his eyebrow. And they cut to Mario Tremblay, and he kind of, and that's the spot.
It's good. It's good.
It's very good.
Very good. I had to see that.
And what else? Okay, I think we pretty much covered everything, Mike. So with that, the end of episode 236 of Hebsy on Sports.
Woo.
And thanks as always to Toronto Mike for production and inspiration. He's hosted 865 podcasts. Try listening to just one of them. Try one of them and see what you can choose from a myriad of guests.
Doo the Clown was on the show this week.
I couldn't watch that. I'm afraid of clowns.
A lot of people are because of these movies.
I have a fear of clowns. So I will not be listening to Doo the Clown. But go to check out at Toronto Mike and just choose your podcast. Lots of great guests. And thanks also to Crosswinds Golf and Country Club for their continued support. Go to crosswindsgolf.com. Book your tee time now. Tell them Hebsy sent you. And thanks to manscaped.com. Do you want to feel and look great below the waist? Get the Lawnmower 4.0 and other great men's grooming products and get 20% off if you go to manscaped.com and use the promo code Hebsy at checkout. Please help out the show. And you know what? And Mike and I can attest to this. Your balls will thank you. Thanks for allowing us into your headspace and below the waist as well. I'm going out in the patio and have a cold one. Back with another exciting episode next week. Until then, so long for now. This podcast has been produced by TMDS and accelerated by Roam Phone. Roam Phone brings you the most reliable virtual phone service to run your business and protect your home number from unwanted calls. Visit roamphone.ca to get started.
All right, let me say goodbye to the viewership. Wayne Brown says, "Great episode. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for watching, Wayne Brown." And
thank you, Wayne. Thank you, everybody.